How's it going, guys? DJ Neeks here, and this is going to be my review of Marvel Studios' Black Panther, which I saw on this past Thursday night. This is I'm thinking this is not going to be one of those really long reviews like my Last Jedi review was, which was an hour and a half. But let's face it, that movie required a lot to talk about. There was a lot to talk about and digest with that movie. This one, I mean, basically, I know there's a lot of controversial stuff in the background surrounding this movie. I'm not gonna discuss any of that. I'm talking about this strictly as the next entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's it. And as the next entry, and keep in mind, this is going to be the last movie we have before Avengers Infinity War. So this is the penultimate before that what I expect to be an amazing movie. And it does do some things to set some stuff up. It's as a standalone. Now, obviously, this is not our real introduction to Black Panther, because if you saw Captain America Civil War, you do get that introduction to him. It's not necessarily a origin as much as it was it's just introducing you to this, because this had been going on for a long time, as it explains early on in the movie. I don't think I'm going to bother going into spoilers, because basically the gist as I'm saying is that I really like this movie, and you should absolutely go see it if you want like all the details and spoilers and everything, because there's really not, I don't think there's really anything to discuss. This is not like one of those movies like Last Jedi where you had to talk about the spoilers to discuss it. I don't think there's really a need for that. I think that what they did with this was really great, with Wakanda, and showing how it works and all the stuff with the vibranium. And yeah, it has tie-ins to some of the previous movies. If you think back to even Avengers Age of Ultron, you could say that was kind of starting to set things up with all the stuff about the vibranium. You think back to that when Ultron was making Vision's body, and he's like, the most durable metal in the world, and they used it to make a frisbee. And then you find out, oh wait, there's a whole entire city built on this material. Yeah, with various aspects of their culture, using it. It's pretty awesome. There's some really cool concepts and stuff that they did with this. I love how, one thing I do want to point out, the music is so good. The soundtrack of this movie is fantastic. Absolutely worth buying. The tribal music and everything they do, like during the fights and everything, is just so great. The things they do with the people of Wakanda and their culture, and the acting in this movie is fantastic. The support cast around Chadwick Boseman. I'm probably gonna either call him Boseman or Panther, because I was trying to practice saying his name, T'Challa, T'Challa, and it was kind of, so I was like, I'm worried I'm gonna like butcher that name or something like that. So I may just say either Boseman or Black Panther, but. Everyone did a great job in this movie in terms of acting. Boseman, Michael B. Jordan as the villain, which I gotta say, you know how Marvel films sometimes have a problem with a weak villain? Not this time around. Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger. He is fantastic as the bad guy in this movie. While also, because he also pulls off that, well, you're the bad guy, but I get where you're coming from, and it's like, they kind of make you kind of sort of sympathetic towards the villain, or that, they paint him like he's not just evil just for being evil's sake. Like there's like reasoning and such behind it. Ooh, look at this, 2 pair, nice. Let's raise. I'm gonna raise. Aha, there we go. I won. All right. Yeah, he does a great job. Andy Serkis does a great job in this movie without the motion capture or anything like that, showing that he's not just a great motion capture actor; he's a great actor. Period. If you don't know who Andy Serkis is, you clearly have not been paying attention. The guy who played Gollum in Lord of the Rings, the guy who played Caesar in the recent Planet of the Apes movies. I mean, the guy is just so good. and he does a great job in this movie too. And then of course the people in Wakanda, with those characters. I pulled up the cast list because I want to see if I can give them the recognition they deserve. Though I'm worried I'm gonna butcher their names. Lupita Nyong'o, who played the girlfriend of Boseman. The general of the soldiers, Okoye, Denai Gurira, she was awesome. Whenever she was on screen, she was like stealing the spotlight. She was great. She wasn't just like the leader or the best warrior of their soldiers. She was like an aunt or mother like figure to Boseman, which was great. Like she's like, it's like, now when you see her, don't you, it's that scene from the trailer. If you see her, don't you freeze. And it's like, what are you talking about? I never freeze. And of course, he freezes as soon as he confronts her, and she shows up, saves him. She goes, "You froze." Just great interactions like that were just so well done. Forrest Whitaker, of course, was in this movie as kind of like the Rafiki character of this movie. There are some similarities in this movie between between it and The Lion King that I was picking up on, which I'm not opposed to. I think that was really kind of a cool thing that they were doing, like making some similarities between that and Lion King, but it was just kind of noticeable, and I was like, oh, okay. But Forrest Whitaker, of course, he did a great job, as he always does. Angela Bassett as his mother, she also did a great job. Martin Freeman as the agent, again, set up more stuff from Civil War as a part of this. Winston Duke, I want to give this guy a shout out. Winston Duke, who played the character M'Baku. And little tidbit, in the comic, his character was actually called Man-Ape, but obviously I don't think they wanted to call him that because that could probably be considered racist. But I liked that his name in this one better. M'Baku. It just sounds cooler to say, like more intimidating. He was just an awesome character all throughout the movie. It's really great. So one of my favorite characters in the entire movie. So I want to give him a shout out because he did such a great job. But yeah, the whole supporting cast did great job with their acting. Some people are saying that there's really not that much action, and I will say Black Panther, when he's Black Panther, with the costume on, he's not in it that much. It's not necessarily about him being the superhero Black Panther wearing the costume and everything for this movie. A lot of it focuses on him as a person, as a man, and as a king, as a character, as well as Wakanda and the culture and what happens when Killmonger shows up and challenges his rule for the throne. It focuses a lot on that aspect and their history and their culture and the vibranium. It doesn't necessarily focus on him as being the superhero Black Panther. It's about him growing as a person, as a man, and as a king, because one of the taglines for the movie was his father says, "It's hard for a good man to be king." And this movie does explore that, and I wanted it to explore that aspect of he's not just a superhero, he's a king of a nation. So I wanted them to really like explore that aspect, and I think they did do that, and they did it really well. Some people complaining about the CGI in this movie, and I think it's a little silly at this point for us to still be complaining about CGI when we look at certain things and we're like, how else could they have done that without CGI? I will acknowledge that it probably could have looked better, but then, yeah, maybe. But then again, I'm not involved in making movies, so I don't know what the other options they had were. I don't know if there was a more either less expensive or more expensive way to do it, but I just think that at this point, making that a complaint. Now, I mean, if it's something that we're just mentioning while not necessarily downgrading the movie for it, okay, but it just, it just seems to me like at this point in time with how movies are done, and when you look at certain things, and you think, how else could they have done that? Or, maybe they could have made it look better, but, I just think it's kind of a thing we don't necessarily need to constantly be bringing up all the time, considering the day and age we live in with some of these movies. But yeah, I really enjoyed how this whole thing. Where also his Boseman's sister, who was basically his Q, Letitia Wright. Shuri, his sister, she was great in the movie. She was basically his Q. I've never seen a superhero movie where he went down to his sister's lab to take a look at his tech. It felt almost sudden it turned into a James Bond movie, like he was getting his tech from Q, where she's like, "Oh, I have this for you. I have this new tech for you. I have these new suits for you that can do this and do this." And I'm like, this doesn't feel like a comic book superhero movie. This feels like a James Bond movie, and it was such a great different take on it. It felt fresh. It felt, it was a refreshing new take on what Marvel has done in the past, because we don't need them to do the same thing every time. And this is one of the things that why Marvel is still going strong, is because they don't keep doing the exact same thing every time. They do something different. They keep it fresh, and they make it where you've seen other, like if you want action, they've done other movies where there's a lot of action, but not as much focus on the characters in the world with, good villains and such. This movie changes it up and does focus on those things. It sacrifices the action for, more character, more atmosphere, more world building, things are like that. And I mean, the story, I enjoyed the story for what it was. Could it have been, some people think it could have been done differently? Yeah, probably. But I enjoyed it for what it was. The story they were telling. Plus, let's keep in mind, this is a continuation of an overall story that Marvel has been doing. Not to mention, this is a setup for, remember, this is the last movie before Infinity War. So what happens here does play, or I suspect, obviously I won't know until I see Infinity War in a few months when it comes out in May, but I suspect that what they did here is going to play a factor in what is going to happen in Infinity War, that it's somehow going to play a part. Obviously there were a couple of end credit scenes, one during that I think absolutely plays a factor, and the one at the end of the credits also is going to play a factor, but it's more so just a confirmation, because we all suspected it when we saw the trailer for Infinity War, but here you get a confirmation on it. But that's all I'm going to say, because obviously I said that I wasn't really going to discuss spoilers, because I didn't really feel like there was a need to discuss spoilers in this. It's a great movie. It's a great Marvel movie. I really liked it. If I was to give it a score, if you were asking me, well, what kind of score would you give it? I'm kind of losing that, want to give a movie a score, considering what I've given scores in the past, like to Batman vs Superman when it first came out, and then looking back, going, yeah, I think it was too nice. But after my first viewing and how much I liked it, and how much I'm hearing other people like it as well, I would give it an 8 or a 9, like somewhere between an 8 or a 9, but probably a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed this movie that much, and I highly recommend that you go see it. Ignore any of this, the controversial talk surrounding this movie. Just go see it and check it out. I'm already hearing that it's already done really well after its first Friday in terms of record-breaking box office, because it's that good. It's a good movie, and that's how we should look at it. Just as a good Marvel movie, Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Go see Black Panther. I loved it. Thought it was great. And I hope you guys go see it. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. And I'll see you guys next time.